Hey Opties! Let's take a look at some parallel lines cut by transversal practice. Number 1 says, in order for line M to be parallel to line N, what other angle has to be 120 degrees? So we're given a picture with 120 degrees labeled right here. And we've got 1, 2, 6, and 7 as the rest of our angles here. So which angle has to match this? Okay, we know congruent angles can't be any of the same side angles. So it can't be 2 or 6 because, well, 2's on the same side. That'd be same side exterior. It can't be 7 because those are supplementary because they're a linear pair. Can't be 6 because they're a linear pair. So it leaves us with 1. So these are alternate of the transversal, which is this line right here, and they're exterior to the parallel lines. So it has to be angle 1. So it will be angle 1 since they are alternate exterior. So remember, they're alternate, the transversal and exterior to the parallel lines. Alternate exterior angles. Now, I probably wouldn't even go through all of that to figure out this answer. I probably would just say, okay, this guy's obtuse. 6, 7, and 2 are acute. It's got to be 1. Like, you don't have to go through and tell what type of angle relationship it is unless it asks for that. I did a little extra there. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you do know the vocabulary for when a question might ask you that. But the main thing is, can you figure out if 2 angles are congruent or supplementary in parallel lines cut by transversal? That's the big idea. Number 2 says, which of the following is false? So for multiple choice questions that ask me for what's false, I like to just go through and read them and mark off what I see as true and figure out what I have left over. It's a kind of process of elimination. So let's look at a 2 and 4, or angle 2 and angle 4 are vertical angles. Okay, 2 and 4 are adjacent angles. So they're definitely not vertical because they're not opposite each other. These are actually a linear pair. So this is actually false. But let's go ahead and check all of the rest of them. Let's look at letter B. 5 and 8 are corresponding angles. Okay, so 5 and 8, well, they're across from each other or opposite each other in intersecting lines. Those are actually vertical angles. So that's also false. So if they're both false, it's looking like, if we look at E, it says all above are false. So that's probably going to be our answer, but we'll keep checking. Okay, angle 2 and angle 5 are alternate interior. So 2 and 5, they're actually same side interior. So they're interior to the parallel lines and they're on the same side of the transversal. Just to be clear, this is the transversal. And we know that because it doesn't have any of these arrows showing parallel lines. It's also kind of obvious because it's only one transversal in this picture. Sometimes you have more than one, so it's really good to look for these arrows. So that tells us these are parallel. 2 and 5 are alternate interior angles. We already said they're same side interior, so it's also false. Angle 3 and angle 8 are alternate exterior angles. 3 and 8, they're actually same side exterior, so that's also a no. So the correct answer is E, all above are false. And I know I circled those along the way, but it's E. Number 3, below line Q intersects lines R, S, T, and U. Which of the following 2 lines are parallel? Okay, so we're going to be looking for either congruent angles or supplementary angles to determine which 2 lines are parallel. Because remember, those are the only 2 relationships that occur in parallel lines cut by transversal. So Q is going to be our transversal, and 2 of these lines are parallel. Let's figure out which 2. We can tell that there are no angles that are congruent, so we're going to be looking for a supplementary relationship. So let's just choose 85, and is there a number here that if you add to 85, you'll get to 180? And yes, there is. 95. So 85 plus 95 is 180. So let's circle these just to get a little better look here. Okay, so they're on the same side of the transversal and they're exterior to lines U and R. So these are going to be the same side exterior relationship. So because they're same side exterior, and we know same side exterior is one of the examples of supplementary angles, then we know that R and U are the parallel lines. So we can say lines R and U. It just asks us for which lines. So there we go. There's one thing I like to say kind of to myself to remember, which two are the supplementary vocabularies. And linear pair is pretty obvious since that's just something that you probably would have learned before you've learned parallel lines cut by transversal. But same side interior and same side exterior both have same side in them. So I like to say same side supplementary. Same side supplementary. It's a nice little alliteration and it just helps me remember. So hopefully that'll help you too. Number 4, line P intersects lines M and N, forming the angles in the following diagram. Find the value of X that will prove M parallel to N. So notice how I read that, M parallel to N. These two vertical lines mean parallel, just like in our title here. So it says line P is what intersects those lines. So this must be line P, even though it's not labeled, we can label it. And we want to prove M and N are parallel by finding that X value. So if M and N are parallel, then we know that there's some relationship between these two angles. They're either congruent or supplementary. So by looking, they look like they're congruent because they're both acute. And we can see they're alternate this line P, which means they're alternate the transversal, because that is the transversal, because we're trying to prove M and N parallel. And they're interior to the parallel lines. So these are going to be alternate interior. Now let's do INT for interior. So those are congruent. So let's set up our equation. 11x plus 4 equals 21x minus 1. So we could subtract 11x from both sides. That's a 0 over here, and we have 4 equals 10x minus 1. We'll add 1 to both sides, and that's a 0. We'll get 5 is 10x. Divide both sides by 10. That's a 1. And x equals 1/2. So that's our answer. X is 1/2. So if you substituted x into both of these expressions, you would get the same angle measure for each of those. And that's what would make them parallel. Number 5. So find the value of x. We know that these are parallel because of these arrows. So the arrow showing that they're in the same direction means they're parallel. So we can then assume we can apply the congruent or supplementary relationships to this problem. 4x and 120, they're both in the top right corner of their cluster. They're the same spot, different cluster. These are corresponding angles. We can also tell they're both obtuse, so we would figure they're congruent. So if they're congruent, we can set those two expressions equal to each other. So 4x equals 120. This one's a pretty easy equation. You just need to divide both sides by 4. That's a 1. And so x equals 30. And that's it for that one. Let's look at number 6. Given the image below, what is the value of x? So some more algebra here. We can see that these are parallel lines because of our arrows here. And they're on the same side of this transversal, and they're interior to the parallel lines. So these are same side interior. Remember, same side interior, same side supplementary. So same side interior or same side exterior, same side supplementary. These are supplementary angles, which means we're going to add them together to equal 180 degrees. And let me write up here for number 5. I didn't write that these are corresponding, so I'm going to do that real quick, even though we talked about it. Okay, so again, let's add these up. So 15x plus 20x plus 75, and these are going to equal 180 degrees. Okay, so 15x plus 20x is 35x plus 75 equals 180. We'll subtract 75 from both sides. Continue over here. 35x is equal to, this is a 0, and 180 minus 75 is 105. And we'll divide both sides by 35. And x equals 3. Okay, that's it for number 6, and that's it for practice with parallel lines cut by transversal. See y'all next time.